Well, my first mainstream game. I have been thinking about this and researching it. I've been thinking about Silent Hill and what exactly it is. Okay, before I begin, I'm going to say I'm not counting Silent Hill Shattered Memories. I see that as a Gaiden game, meaning it's kind of a reimagining of the first game from a different possible permutation. Um, so it doesn't really play into the lore, in my opinion. Um, I am putting in the room because I actually do think that it gives a separate insight that could be kind of interesting. Um, but here's what I think it is. Well, first of all, if you're familiar with the games, you know that in at least three of them, there is an order that wants to revive a goddess. Actually, four of them, because the room kind of mentions it. Um, and forgive me, I'm not going to be able to sort which game came first, second, or third after the room because I can be a little derpy like that. But I am familiar enough with the lore to do this. I'm not going to go too much into the plots of these games because that would take like an hour because there are that many games. Um, but suffice it to say that where this stems from is introduced in the first game. This church, the order, that seems to worship this really nasty goddess, and they think if they do these really horrible things, the goddess will come back. And there are a lot of symbolic things with this goddess, like the red hoods represent executioners of some kind. Pyramid Head is usually considered an example of this, along with Vital, who chases you around in the third game, trying to protect the fetus. It gets kind of really fucked up with this church. Now, I don't know if the goddess they're worshiping is real, but whatever they're worshiping is has real power because it does a lot of fucked up shit, including creating pocket dimensions that adapt themselves to an individual's fears, regrets, sorrows, memories. In the first game, it was mostly focused on Alyssa's memories because she was controlling it because she was basically like one half of the goddess. Um, in the second game, it literally adjusted itself depending on the person you're dealing with. We were seeing it mostly from one person's point of view, but other people were seeing different things. There was even a little girl running around who was completely unaffected by it because she had no regrets, no guilt, she was pure innocence. And even the realm couldn't harm her. So basically, these are areas that create hells. And they have rituals that have real power in them. The room is a good example of a ritual that I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's not really part of the canon. It mentions the order. I'm counting it in here. But the room is an example of a ritual that had real freaking power. Because if it does succeed, something happens that the person doing it wants. And the fact that they're back from the dead is an indicator that it does work. So this is something you don't want to go messing with. And there's even another pocket dimension where it was like a sect of the cult with sacrifices, and when it got screwed up, a little bit like Fatal Frame, which I still need to get to, it caused all of these problems and angered whatever spirits were there. Now, okay, so this cult has actual magical power. What's keeping them from taking over the world? Well, no one can control it. And there is a possibility it could overtake the entire world if enough people... Because the thing is, the Order seems to be very small in size. There's not a lot of members. And the members that are there keep kind of cacking it. They keep dying because something happens with the power that, eats them essentially, or traps them in a hell world, or they just end up dying from power struggles or something. So, this cult of insanity essentially is limited by its own mortality and limited by its ability to control this power. I don't know who first found it, and this power is clearly intelligent if they think, oh, this is a goddess that created the earth. Maybe, like, the power put that into their head or played with them. Either way, this is not nice. And I don't even know what its end goal is going to be. Nobody knows. It doesn't give a clear end goal of what it wants. Which actually I think is one of the reasons why this is considered a scarier series than the Resident Evil series, because even in the first one, Umbrella Corp was making a genetic thing, it was mostly scientific, and they screwed up, then a psycho took over, and they decided to run with it to take over the world. You know how these things go. This one, you're not sure what they want. I mean, clearly they want to annihilate all life on Earth and create a Garden of Eden, essentially. That that much. At least that's what the cult says it wants. But we don't know what the entity behind it really wants. Because the entity could just be feeding off of all this and not really caring about a big picture. It could actually want to destroy the Earth. It could really want to fulfill this Garden of Eden thing. Or is something that we would never understand. Either way, this is a more messed up thing because this is clearly a cult that worships something that is clearly real, but they don't know what it is and we don't know what it is. And I don't think we're ever going to get the answer. Now, I know the new game is coming out, Silent Hill PT. I may modify this theory and expand on it when it comes out and I get a little more information on it, because, well, Silent Hills is the actual name of the game, because that should be kind of interesting purely because it's two different directors directing it. I figured I'd get this out of the way, just a little quick theory on what I think the cult is. And keep in mind, again, not all the games fit into this cult thing. I would say, I'm not sure about Downpour, and I know Shattered Memories doesn't. The others, I believe, do. Hell, one of them blatantly, technically it's Silent Hill 5, one of them blatantly is dealing with the cult, because it's like a sect of the cult in another town, which, again, if you know about the power, you probably do have ability to access to it. 4 has Walter Sullivan, who was raised by the Order, and yeah, I'm switching between Order and Cult. I actually kind of forgot what the proper name of the Order is, but I think if I go more into how PT ties into it, and how Hills ties into it, then I'll probably, do a more in-depth thing in this. I just wanted to get this quickly out there, because unlike Five Nights at Freddy's, Silent Hills isn't going to be out for a little while, and I can afford to do this. Anyway, I will catch you later. And yeah, if you're wondering the games that I consider in the canon of the cult canon, which is talks about the cultish stuff, it's 1, a little bit of 2, because there is a ritual in it, and it does involve how the world actually works, and does talk a little bit of the Order. It's the least canon of the group, I think. 3 definitely, 4 definitely. I think technically the one that's called 5. I don't know if there are any other Silent Hill games besides those. Hills, which is coming out, PT, Downpour, and Shattered Memories. I'd have to double check. I'm not counting the comics, because I'm going pure game lore here, because sometimes comics tend to deviate from the canon a little bit in general. Just from the main games, forget from the actual canon that's going on, or whatever. And like I said, I do consider Shattered Memories a Gaiden game, a reinterpretation of it. An interesting one. I'm not going to say it's not interesting, but a reinterpretation of it. And I personally prefer the original first game just because. But, I'm not going to fault it. Anyway, I'll catch you guys later. Bye!